Welcome to the show. I'm Jason McIntyre in for Whitlock, and I'll tell you why we shouldn't pencil LeBron into the finals just yet.
And I'm Colin Cowherd, and I'll tell you why last night proved Brad Stevens is the best coach in this league. Speak for yourself. Starts now.
Already, Colin?
Listen, Sean McVay, best offensive coach in the NFL. He's like a kid.
Hello and welcome. We're joined today by former NBA All-Star Kenyon Martin and Fox NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Let's start in Boston, where the Celtics finished off the Sixers last night, surprising a lot of folks who thought Philly's young talent would overwhelm Brad Stevens' injury-plagued crew. Stevens has now managed to find a way to beat the Greek Freak in round one, then pour cold water on red-hot Ben Simmons in round two. Cowherd, should LeBron actually fear the Celtics?
No, I mean, this was a very unique series. It could have been Philadelphia 4-1. Philadelphia out-rebounded Boston. More assists, more second chance points, more points in the paint. Had two stars. The reality of this, Philadelphia was lousy in late game situations, which is predictable for a team with a rookie point guard and the second best coach in a two-coach series. So one of the things we know about LeBron.
That was nice.
That was very kind of you, Brett Brown.
I like that. I like the way you
Listen,
put that.
here's what we know about LeBron, especially this year. They're good late in games. And they were good against Indiana late in games. They were good against Toronto late in games. For all of LeBron's criticism through the years, he's been really clutch this playoff. So I think LeBron looks at it and thinks, Philadelphia won the box score every night. They just couldn't gift wrap the box. And I'm good at the gift wrap, and I'll finish it off.
So no fear whatsoever.
None.
Colin, I got to say, total disagreement. We're just remembering what we saw in the Toronto-Cleveland series, where Cleveland just wiped them off the court. We're forgetting the Indiana series 2 weeks ago. The Pacers, who, by the way, outscored the Cavs in the fourth quarter by 32 points in the series. That team pushed Cleveland to 7 games, and I don't see why Boston can't do the same. Colin, they are a better three-point shooting team than the Cavs in the playoffs, better defensive team, and we know Brad Stevens is a genius. As you said, in the 3 close games against the Sixers, Brad Stevens was lights out, won all the clutch points down the stretch. And I look at this series, I say, LeBron, you're going to have to do it without Kyle Korver and Kevin Love, because Stevens is going to take them away. I like the series to go 7. I think LeBron's going to need to be heroic if the Celtics aren't going to beat them.
So you saying LeBron needs to be LeBron?
Well, he's going to get his 40.
And
we know that.
Did you just give me a stat that's saying the Pacers outscored the Cleveland Cavaliers in the fourth quarter by
32.
That tells me they were down a lot in those games. That's what basketball minds would tell me, that's what that means. They played them. They're home watching them now.
They are.
No fear. LeBron been there, done that time and time again for the last 7 years.
Against this team, often.
This team, other teams that has been in his way, he's proven no matter where he's seated, no matter who's on the other side, it's my show. Boston's done well in the playoffs. They've come together playing without Kyrie, and all of that is great. Now the show begins. To get over the hump, you got to beat the guy. Yep. And the guy's been playing pretty well right now.
So we got 2 guys saying no shot. Broussard.
We got 3.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
I mean, look, and we'll learn from game 1. If Cleveland comes out and they are totally locked in, this could be quick. It could be 5 games. LeBron's never, you gonna tell me a group of role players. I love Brad Stevens. I think you're giving him too much credit, like he's going to be on the court, okay? The group of role players is not taking down LeBron James. I mean, it's just never happened. Every team that's beaten him in the playoffs, you know, Detroit when they had Rasheed and Ben Wallace and Chauncey and Rip, Boston with the big 3, Dwight Howard in Orlando, the big 3 in San Antonio, Dirk Nowitzki in Dallas. He's not going down to a role player, a role-playing team. Look, they'll give him the appropriate respect. But there's no way they lose this series.
Chris, explain to me, how did the role player Indiana Pacers push the series
You
to 7?
could see that Cleveland was getting to know themselves at that point. They're still a team that's just coming together.
Right.
Those young boys, I mean, Rodney Hood was starting during the play. Now he's out of the rotation. Yeah. Ty Lue had to figure out which 8 or 9 guys can I count on. He's found the veteran guys are the ones he can count on. Yeah. And Kevin Love didn't play well against Indiana. He stepped it up. Kyle Korver stepped it up. So the role players are playing a lot
My
better.
point on the Celtics is what Brad Stevens, what makes him such a great coach, is he puts his young players in difficult positions early in the season, so they're ready for the pressure. Jason Tatum's been playing all season. Jaylen Brown
Against who though? Listen,
well,
against what competition? Regular season don't mean nothing. Against
doesn't
what?
mean anything.
Against what competition in the playoffs?
Again,
against a Miami team.
They knocked off the best, second
against
best
a
player in the
Miami
league.
team. Against a Miami team that shouldn't have been there.
You're getting caught up. You're getting caught up on
Against
the
a
Pacers.
Philadelphia team that average age 22, 23 years old, and don't none of them know how to win. They proved that.
Yeah, certainly.
Late game, like you say.
Yeah.
They proved that.
We're getting caught
They're
up.
going into the playoffs against arguably one of the greatest of all time.
Look at the history of the league. Pretty simple. Find me teams that get to the finals with no stars. Seattle Sonics in the 70s, Pistons one time. But now find me a team with no stars and youth. It's never happened. Okay, the Pistons had like Rip Hamilton, Chauncey Billups, Tayshaun Prince, I think had been in the
a couple
League
years,
K.
but
Rasheed Wallace. The Sonics team had, again, Paul Silas, Dennis
Johnson,
Gus Williams. There is no precedent for, hey, there's this team. They have no stars, and they're all young guys. It just doesn't work that way. In fact, just look at this graph. Look at the playoff experience among the Cavs and the Celtics. So we know the Celtics have no stars. We know the Cavs have the best player by far. The Celtics have virtually no playoff experience. And until really the last 2 years, Al Horford didn't have any because he couldn't win a series with Atlanta.
the third person on that list has more than Al Horford. Yeah. JR has more than Al Horford.
As Colin said, Philadelphia not could have won that series in 5. They should have.
Yes.
I mean, they're up 22. They should have.
Yes.
Late game
No
situation.
question.
They didn't have a closer. Guess what LeBron James is? A closer.
They don't have vets. And not only a closer, they don't have nobody to tell them to slow it down.
This time of year brings us two things: graduations and Father's Day, and the gifts that go along with them. Before you buy Dad another tie or that grad a balloon that will probably float away, ask yourself this: does my dad or grad like wings or sports, or better yet, both? If the answer is yes, then get them a Buffalo Wild Wings gift card. Right now, if you purchase $30 worth or more in-store or online, they'll give you a $5 bonus to keep for yourself. That's a gift that gives back. How generous of you. Buffalo Wild Wings, wings, beer, sports. Terms and conditions apply.
To the Sixers, whose youth and inexperience definitely showed up in the series, really last night, some real late game blunders cost them some close games, 3 in fact. Even still, Philly had a pretty remarkable turnaround. 2 years ago, they won 10 games. Despite some struggles, Joel Embiid says Ben Simmons had an optimistic message after the game.
He came up to me, was like, there's going to be, show me his hands, and he was like, there's going to be a lot of rings on this. And then I was like, for sure. So we got a bright future, and we're going to be fine.
I'm just learning. This is just the start for me. I have a long way to go.
All right, J-Max, Simmons may be optimistic, but he did look lost at a couple of points in this series late. Do you think he got exposed by the Celtics?
I think exposed is a great word. I mean, they were better when Ben Simmons was on the bench. We have the stat here. This is staggering, maybe the stat of the playoffs. When Ben Simmons was off the court, the Philadelphia 76ers outscored the Celtics. I mean, look, this is crazy. The best player, the rookie of the year, and they were better with him off. I think what the Celtics did, and you're going to see this against the Cavs, Brad Stevens taking the best player out of his comfort zone. Ben Simmons can't shoot in the 10 to 16-foot range, 31% this season. Brad Stevens said, we'll give you whatever you want in the mid-range. Ben Simmons didn't take it, did not work, and
Ben Simmons
had a really bad
is a
series.
rookie,
Yeah.
okay? Exposed is the wrong word. Exposed is Trump had an affair with a porn star. That's new information.
That's definitely exposure.
Watergate, Richard Nixon's corruption. Oh, that's new information. Exposed is, oh, this guy's, okay, Ben Simmons is a long, talented rookie who can't shoot. What didn't I know about that?
Well, the Miami Heat had that information.
Okay, that's not new information. Exposed, no. Ben Simmons was what we all thought he was. Dude is strong, long, good court vision, plays defense, can score, but he can't shoot, and he's a rookie, so he's overwhelmed. There's nothing I was exposed to. By the way, you have to remember this, is that Brad Stevens is a great coach, primarily known for execution out of bounds and defense. Well, guess what? Great defensive coach, shut down 20-year-old kid in a series. That's kind of what I would expect. Pat Riley did this early in his career to young guards he faced.
Yeah, so that plus minus. So do you actually believe that the Philadelphia 76ers are a better team with Ben Simmons on them? So don't give me them numbers.
Hey,
so don't give me them numbers,
the
man.
one game they won, Kenyon, T.J. McConnell was the star.
Okay, he played well.
Yeah.
Listen, playoffs, he's high energy.
Yeah.
That's what he is.
Yeah.
Coach knows that. Insert him to be in the lineup to be successful and to help our team. He did his job. He's not a better player than Ben Simmons.
No, nobody would say that.
He can dream to be a better player than Ben Simmons. So them numbers don't mean anything. The kid has a bright future in this league.
That, yeah.
Well, when you say exposed, you
exposed exactly.
implies phony, fraud. It does.
Look it
If
up.
you want to say he didn't play well, he struggled, he learned. Like,
The coach-
this is great for Ben Simmons.
Definitely.
Yeah, it would have been nice to reach the finals. This is great for them because we know he couldn't shoot. He knew he couldn't shoot. He's got to work on his free throws. He also learned, I got to work on situational basketball,
Yes.
Yeah.
time and score, getting my teammates in the right position. Like,
All of that.
And look, this was his first year ever as a full-time point guard. And he did it at the top level and led his team to 52 wins without Embiid a lot of times.
And he's not the only person that needs to learn all the things that you just said.
That's right.
He's not the only one that turned the ball over late. He's on a bad shot selection. The whole roster,
At
you know what I'm
the
saying? Because
same
they're
time,
young, because they ain't never been in them
Ben
situations
Simmons
before.
had a tremendous rookie
Yeah.
year. He is the rookie of the year. He was the third best rookie in the playoffs after Donovan Mitchell and Jason Tatum.
that's
But
fine.
again,
so he did.
but again,
his limitations were exposed.
context.
Yeah.
They're not point guards.
Yeah.
Okay, a point guard's a quarterback.
Yeah.
Listen, left guard for the Colts. The Indianapolis Colts drafted a left guard. He's not going to get exposed much. You're not asking him much. Block downhill.
It's
A
interesting
rookie
'cause-
quarterback, Baker Mayfield or Sam Darnold. These other Jason Tatum. He's not the quarterback of that team. He's a wing player.
He lost his point guard, Kyrie Irving, just as Donovan Mitchell lost his point guard, Ricky Rubio. Both still thrived.
Again,
I just thought. Go ahead.
We're forgetting this. Ben Simmons had a 1-point game. I mean, a really bad game for any player, but okay, he still went 16, 9.5, and 8 with a 1-point game. Yes, this rookie point guard had an atrocious
And
day.
he's been exposed.
By the way, it should be mentioned, in LeBron's 8th year, he froze in the headlights in the finals. Yeah. Ben froze in the headlights of one game. He went passive. Yeah. I'm okay with it. He's a 20-year-old kid.
It happened to Magic Johnson.
Tragic.
In 1984. Magic had 2 rings at that point, and he froze in the finals. I mean, it happens to guys. And to your point, you're talking about exposed. He actually showed something that a lot of people didn't think he had. He actually played pretty well off the ball.
Yeah.
When McConnell was in, he was in a lot of times with him as well, kind of playing like a power forward and scoring points.
Ask yourself.
He's a basketball player.
Thank you.
He's a basketball player.
Ask
man.
yourself this. If I said to you, right now, Kenyon, I said, who in the NBA would you give Ben Simmons up for? 10 guys?
Not that many.
I mean,
5?
seriously. I mean, I like a lot. I mean, LeBron, obviously, but I've got 15 years of Ben Simmons. Our knock on him is, hey, man, he froze a little in the playoffs. That's a good argument. That's a good problem to have. I froze in the second round of the playoffs.
Exposed in one 5-game series. He'll be
After
back.
playing
He'll be back.
after playing 20-some games in college, no games the next year, and all of a sudden people
He's a
expect
point
him to
guard.
be this LeBron. No, he's going to grow into that, and he's going to have an excellent
He's as
career.
big as you, and he's a point guard.
Hey, I'm excited to see him play.
So am I.
Are you ready to apologize?
I love Ben Simmons. I'm a big fan. I got my kids a Ben Simmons jersey, Chris. Come on.
Welcome back. We're joined now by Hall of Famer Eric Dickerson and longtime NFL player and scout Bucky Brooks. Let's move to Dallas, where at least one guy is very optimistic that the Cowboys will rebound from last year's struggles. They weren't that big of struggles. Jerry Jones saying he thinks Ezekiel Elliott will benefit from having all the distractions of last year behind him.
There's no doubt in my mind that it will make a significant difference in how he can focus, how he can focus not only on the next practice, but the next game and the entire season. So, yes, I think that I give him a big arrow as to what his performance might be without the overhang of the issue that he faced last year.
A rejuvenated Zeke could be a very good thing for the Cowboys and Dak Prescott, who seem to be much better with Elliott on the field. All right, J-Mac, who's more important to the Cowboys' success to you, Zeke or Dak Prescott?
I got to go Dak. I feel like with Zeke, we know what we're going to get. Behind the best offensive line in the league, he's probably going to test 2,000 yards this year. He's reliable. I love Zeke. But with Dak, there's some uncertainty, okay? He lost Witten and Des Bryant. You know, they were 44% of Dak's targets last year. Every time he drops back, he's got Witten, his security blanket, and Des had 133 targets last year. That's a high. I just wonder how he's going to handle Tavon Austin, Allen Hurns. They're going to need name tags in the huddle for that offensive set early in the season. I think definitely Dak is more important.
Well, I think Dak's the most underrated quarterback in the league. We know who's great in this league, and we know who's not. Dak is one of the very few guys that's not in the top 8 to 10 great that can get there. I mean, we're never going to see Kirk Cousins and Case Keenum make big leaps. Deshaun Watson is one of those kids that can make a leap. I don't think Marcus Mariota has it in him. I don't think Jameis Winston has it in him. Garoppolo could make that leap. Dak has won 22 games in the last 2 years. One quarterback's won more, Tom Brady, and Tom's in a much easier division. I think Dak is special. I think he's dealt with a lot of noise, a high-profile sort of vanity-driven owner, the Zeke stuff. Dez, boy, I watched that Amazon Prime show with Dez and Zeke. Oh, God, the meetings were a mess.
Yeah.
I think Dak's a really potentially special player.
I mean, I think he's a really good player, but I think the guy who makes it go for Dallas is Ezekiel Elliott. When you look at what Dallas is, they're a team that are built to run the football. And when they run the football, they can control the game on offense and defense. Running the ball allows them to set up Dak Prescott off play action. Everything that he does because he can fake the 21, throw it downfield, get the ball to the playmakers. He can play efficiently because they're able to dictate the terms because the situations are favorable for the offense. Also, they employ a keep-away strategy that keeps their defense off the field. We talk about them doing with a bunch of a cast of misfits. They're able to do that because they're able to control time of possession. To me, I know we talk about it being a quarterback-driven league, but I think the common denominator with most of the quarterbacks that play really, really well, the presence of dominant running backs or somebody at the running back position that can command it not only as a runner, but as a receiver out the back.
You're right. And Jerry Jones said it right. I think without all the distractions that he had last year, he'll be a different player because he didn't know if he was going to play, if he was going to be in, if he was going to be out. And one thing is this Cowboys are a running football team. That's what they want to do. 2 years ago, when Zeke first came on the scene, what did they do? Run the football. That keeps you in the games. But I think where the problem comes in is if I'm a defensive coordinator for another team, I'm like, 21's not going to beat us. We're going to stack the line of scrimmage. There's no Dez Bryant, there's no Jason Witten, who was not running great routes, but he's still a good blocker. You know, they don't have a real receiver that no one knows about. So, look, we're just going to stack the line of scrimmage. We're going to beat them, make number 4 beat us. If he beats us, no problem. But we're not going to let 21 beat us.
Remember, 3 years ago, the brand for Russell Wilson was, you know, listen, it's the defense. Now he's he's going to be mentioned in a Hall of Fame class when he's done. I mean, he's now a great player. He's in the MVP. He led the NFL last year in touchdown passes with a bad O-line. I think, and a lot of that wasn't because Russell wasn't good, because there was this big brand around him, Pete Carroll defense. I think Dak sometimes suffers from that. We've given the offensive line so much attention. I've never talked more about an offensive line in my career. And now we have this great line. So we feel like, well, this team's about the offense and the running game. Listen, this kid doesn't make big mistakes.
I agree with you.
He doesn't throw interceptions.
I agree with you with that. You know, when I first saw Dak play, he played the Rams in the first preseason game back in L.A. And I had never heard of him.
Yep.
And I'm just watching him. I'm like, man, who is this kid? He throws like Warren Moon. I'm like, he's so accurate. I didn't know who he was.
Yeah.
It's true. I think Dak is underrated.
And that
very
never
much.
happens to a Cowboy player.
Never. I agree. I think he's underrated, but still, I mean, it's great when you have 2 players. You have him and Zeke together. That's what makes them great together. Together, I think they're really good. Yeah. It's like Troy and Emmett. You know, I think they needed each other at that time. And I think it's the same thing here, but still, this football team is a running football. We run first. Now, if you give us the opening, if you stack the line of scrimmage on us, and all of a sudden, Dak just started to pick you apart, you're going to have to.
But Seattle was a running team.
Yeah.
And then Marshawn Lynch left, and Russell led the NFL in touchdown passes.
He did, but the team also has not been the same.
Right.
Like Marshawn Lynch gave them that identity, gave them that brand, and that physicality and toughness came from the running game. There's something about the run game that defines your team. And when you have a guy like Zeke who can run it and can really spit out these 100-yard games like an ATM machine, it allows you to comfortably pick and choose when you want to pass. So Edie's right. They're going to stack the box, and they're going to dare number 4 to be able to beat them. But Zeke Elliott's so good that he should be able to run against 8-man boxes and still have a level of success.
When you think about, you talk about Seattle back in those days, they were a defensive football team. Right. They would take the ball away, give you a short field, and they'd score right quick. So at one point, you didn't really know who Russell Wilson was. You saw him run around a lot, and they would run the football.
See, I guess my argument is, I think Dak's got a lot of Russell Wilson.
He does.
I just
agree
think
with that.
we didn't appreciate Russell until about year 4. And I think this is the year we're going to go, oh, Dak's really, because I think people will stack it, and he'll prove, with mostly possession receivers now, I can move the chain.
Welcome back. Kenyon Martin and Chris Broussard are back. Let's return to Boston, where Brad Stevens just pulled a rabbit out the hat, finding a way to get the Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals despite major injuries to Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward. Incredibly, Stevens didn't get a single vote from his fellow coaches for Coach of the Year, which went to Dwayne Casey, whose team just got bounced, by the way. Colin, is Brad Stevens the best coach in the NBA?
I don't remember ever, as good as Phil Jackson was, I don't ever remember in my life saying, yeah, that team won because of the coach. Didn't we think Philadelphia had 2 stars? I mean, Popovich lost a star player, Kawhi, to injury. It derailed the season. Brad Stevens lost Gordon Hayward and Kyrie Irving, and they're in the Eastern Conference Finals. They were plus 29 against Philadelphia in the last 2 minutes of halves. That tends to be coaching. Those are designed plays out of timeouts. You know, right before a half, right before the end of the game. You call a timeout. You set up Al Horford. You set up whoever you set up. I just don't remember in my life ever talking about a series and talking about a coach being the reason they won in my life.
I love Brad Stevens. Earlier in the show, I said that he's going to keep the Celtics in the series against LeBron. I've got to stop short, though, about best coach in the NBA. Colin, this is a guy who's 19-21 in the playoffs in his career. For now, just for now, I've still got to go with Popovich as the best coach of the year, as the best coach in the NBA. But I do have to say about Stevens, this is a guy who, 15 years ago was an Eli Lilly marketing rep, in the pharmaceutical industry, and here he is bypassing. He cut the line, is why I think these coaches have it out for him. He didn't pay his dues. He was never an assistant in the NBA. I get a lot of heat being on TV here. Hey, Jason, you didn't work in small markets. You didn't work your way up. How did you get there? Listen, some guys do things and go an unconventional route. Brad Stevens went to Butler. Butler got them to the national title game twice, and here he is, one of the best coaches.
He also got a 6-year contract. Nobody gets 6-year contracts. Yeah. Resentment.
Did you just compare yourself to Brad?
I did not. Come on, why would I do that, Broussard?
No, look, Brad Stevens is a great coach, obviously, but no, I'm with you. I have to go with Popovich with the rings. And Colin, I have thought a lot of times that a coach got something done. Popovich, for instance, we've seen time and time again where he sat players or players were out and they had a great game and beat some of the top players. And even when this year, Kawhi Leonard out essentially the whole year, and they were in the running for 3rd place in the West. Quinn Snyder, their one really good offensive player was a rookie, and they battled. They got, 4th seed, 5th seed in the West. And Tom Thibodeau, when he had Derrick Rose, and then even when Derrick Rose got hurt, they beat the Nets one year. Nate Robinson was their big-time player, and the Nets had Darren Williams, Joe Johnson, So we've seen coaches maximize good talent, and some of those coaches haven't been as good with superstar talent. Like Thibodeau hasn't been as good in Minnesota. Now you got a Karl Anthony Towns, Jimmy Butler, Wiggins. I want to see Stevens with stars, real superstars for a long haul, not just Kyrie for 2/3 of the season, and then he'll have the whole shebang. Like he can coach marginal talent, and he can maximize star talent.
Yeah. For once, we agree.
For once, Ken.
We agree. I'll leave it at that. No, man. Greg Popovich is a great coach. But Brad Stevens has done an excellent job. I'm saying with the talent that he has there, moving forward. So we'll see. But he's done what people didn't expect him to do. I'm saying with Kyrie being out now, he never had a chance to coach Hayward. I'm saying this season ended early. But no, I'm saying with Kyrie not being there, it showed a lot. I'm saying for him having to plug Rozier and instilling the confidence in him that he can go out and do the same things that Kyrie was doing. And him going out and doing it. But just putting his guys in situations to be successful. Coming out of timeouts, like you stated, he's excellent.
Excellent.
And then I think that comes from his college background, having to script plays up
For Butler.
with low time and things like that to get some national championship games and all that. So that experience helped him. Oh, well, he never coached in the NBA, assists and all that stuff. He's a good basketball coach. That all should matter.
You know, the one thing that when I look at a coach, what makes a great coach is a big part of it is, do you get the best Kenyon Martin that Kenyon Martin can be? Yeah. Like your best coach. Listen, man, Isaiah Thomas has been a marginal NBA player. He got MVP votes, okay, with Brad Stevens. Jay Crowder's kind of a bounce-around guy. Yeah. When he was with Boston, I was like, he's a vital part of their success. He went to Cleveland and LeBron, and it didn't work. Isaiah Thomas went to LeBron, and it didn't work.
Don't forget Avery Bradley as well. Remember last year in the playoffs?
Avery Bradley went to a team in Detroit which wanted to use him more, and his numbers went down. Yeah. The one thing Stevens does, Jason Tatum shouldn't be this good this early. There's just no way. Jaylen Brown could not shoot out of college. 2 years later, he's almost a 40%. Yep. So to me, coaching's a lot of things. Yeah. But one of them is, do I take a player, and I thought Phil Jackson was great at this. Rick Fox was his best under Phil. You could play for 6 teams, but I think that's where Brad's pretty special. Now to Houston, where Chris Paul just led the Rockets to the Western Conference Finals, the first time he's made it this deep in the playoffs during his 13-year career. The series win over Utah earned Paul some, serious praise. But not everybody is such a big fan of the point guard including the guy sitting next to me, Kenyon Martin. Uh-oh.
People think he's a politician.
Okay.
People don't trust politicians.
Is that really it?
Yeah, he does things within the locker room that some teammates question. Dealing with management and coaches, people deem it as sneaky, things like that, but you don't know what's going on behind the closed door, so it leads to speculation.
So he has excellent relationships with Adam Silver, all of his coaches, front office people. That doesn't land well for players who don't think he's all in as a player.
Yeah, as a teammate. They think he has an agenda, like a hidden agenda that doesn't include the rest of the 14 guys. For some guys, it's deeper than basketball. It's about relationships. It's about, do I trust you in more than just a basketball sense for some guys?
You were all about winning. I think you like him.
Yeah, winning, yeah. But when it comes across as like being selfish at times.
Woo. Oh, boy.
I'm actually surprised that Chris Paul is not more well-liked universally.
It doesn't shock me at all. I've never met Chris Paul, never interviewed him, but I'm telling you, this is the guy who was the greatest player in Clippers history. We could argue that, right? Spent 6 years there. One of the best players in Clippers franchise history. His team hated him. I'll never forget the Bill Plaschke column in the LA Times this year after Chris Paul tried to go to the locker room. Remember the Houston Clippers fight? And Austin Rivers and Chris Paul did not get along. Doc Rivers and Chris Paul did not get along. DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, on down the line. Like, Chris Paul, for as good as he was not loved in Los Angeles with the Clippers. Kenyon, I can't wait to hear the stories from that locker room.
Listen, he made a lot of guys rich.
Yeah, definitely.
He's not he plays defense, so he's not one of these guys that gives you half a game.
Oh,
and the other thing is, New Orleans, Clippers, Houston, he set regular season records, so he wins. Like, aren't you a little bit surprised?
I'm not, because I've heard a lot of what Kenya said. One thing Kenya didn't say that I've heard a lot of is he's just hard on teammates, too. He's always yapping, telling guys what to do, directing them, and he doesn't really take the blame himself, even when he has deserved it.
That's a true leader.
He won't take it himself. So, look, my interactions with Chris have been fine, but everything Kenya said I had heard, and I'm not surprised.
Let me ask you one thing. Like, a lot of guys come into this league, and I'm not knocking players because you guys come into the league at 21, 22, but you want to make some money, find some cute girls, and have a good time, and get a shoe deal, and I'm okay with that. And then when you get older, you want to win. A lot of guys come in, then the second contract, third contract, you want rings and titles. I would think Chris Paul does stuff that other players, a lot of them, don't want to do. He deals with management. He deals with coaches. He coaches on the floor. A lot of guys come into this league, they want to make money. They want to get a shoe deal. They want to have fun. Like, he's doing a lot of the stuff other guys don't want to do, isn't he?
Not necessarily. He just put himself in a situation to do those things. You know, it's just like opportunities there for everybody to do the stuff that he does. But it's just who wants, like you said, who wants to do it, who doesn't, what fits certain guys, what doesn't fit certain guys. But no, like, he's a hell of a basketball player. He goes out and he does his job well. Take nothing away from his career. He's been a great basketball player. But like you said, there's other things that rub people the wrong way.
Let me ask you, he's the president of the Players Association.
Yes.
How does that land for players?
I don't hold too much weight, but historically it's not a sexy job, a job that guys who so-called quote-unquote superstars would want. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot to do with a lot of nonsense, basically, like paperwork and phone calls, emails all the time. Like, who wants to deal with that? That normally goes for guys who had decent careers.
yeah.
Decent careers, but you know what I'm saying, that's for them to do, so to speak.
You know, we know who he's tight with, right? LeBron James, his banana boat friend. And LeBron is very demanding of teammates. We know that. That's well documented. The one difference is LeBron has carried inferior teams to the finals. The Cavs in, I believe, 2008. Chris Paul, can you be that demanding when you're not coming through and delivering in the playoffs? I just wonder if that just wears on people, on DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin.
You get tired of, like, when you're in the game situations and it's always like of course, you expect your coach to be that, and you expect your point guard to be vocal, but when it's too much all the time, every game, like, it starts to become like a nagging aunt or your grandmother or something. And you want to just, man, shut up. You know what I'm saying? But in the heat of the moment, you can't do that. So then it just, over time, year in, year out, it's the same thing. Year in, year out, it's the same thing. You know, so for some people, by the time the playoffs start, you like,
You don't hear it.
This guy.
And I think
then you start losing. In this case,
And he's going to blame you.
He ain't
He's
been out
not
the
taking
second.
the blame.
Not at all. I'm saying, so that just rubs some guys the wrong way. Then you go in the coach's office during the playoffs, and then you close the door behind you. Now you're like, what's going on in there? You know what I'm saying? So, like, what y'all in there talking about that don't include us? Like, we losing together. Like, what y'all in there talking about? You know what I'm saying? So then all the whispers start, and it leads to speculation, like I said earlier, man.
And I think, as Kenya said, there's a difference between respecting him for his game. Like, he's got that, obviously. Yeah. And liking playing with him. And I think Kenya would say he's not speaking for every single player in the league. You know, I know when he played in New Orleans, he got along with Tyson Chandler. And, you know, he has had guys he's gotten along with. But all the things, the chirping, the attitude, the yelling, the politics, I've heard a lot of that.
All right, welcome back. Kmart, Chris Broussard are here. Let's move to LeBron James, whose Cavs are now set to take on Boston in the Eastern Conference Finals. Despite a rocky start to the playoffs and Boston's home court edge, Cleveland is the favorite and should be to win the series. Their turnaround has prompted some speculation that LeBron's exodus from Cleveland might not be set in stone. All right, Jason, do you think LeBron stays in Cleveland if the Cavs just make it? Not win, but make it to the finals.
No, of course not. This is my favorite topic in sports, by the way, right now. I just love this cloud hovering over the Cavs about LeBron. What's he going to do? Again, he told Sports Illustrated, I'm going back to Cleveland. I'm going to deliver a title. And he did that. Mission accomplished. And now he's at the stage in his life, 33 and a half years old. You know, what do I want out of the rest of my career? What do I want to do with my life? I think he's, won titles in Miami. He won in Cleveland. I think it's time for LeBron to do what he wants to do, what's going to make him happy. And I believe going to the marquee franchise, the Lakers, is the move for him. I know that there's talk about the Sixers from Broussard and a lot of people saying the Houston Rockets. I think LeBron leaves Cleveland for the Lakers after this season.
Well, listen, when did he leave Miami? He left Miami when he had won. The roster was getting a little old, and he felt trapped, okay? He's in Cleveland. And by the way, he was demolished in the finals. So in Miami, he got demolished in the finals. Bosh and Wade, Battier, Miller, getting a little old. He feels trapped. I'm going to Cleveland. Now he goes to Cleveland for 4 years, just like he was in Miami for 4. They're going to get, if they win here, demolished in the finals, and the roster feels old.
Yes.
Love George Hill, and he's trapped because of the contracts. We got a pattern here. The Miami-Cleveland thing, although he won another title in Miami, feels very similar. Yeah. In the 4th year, gets to the finals, gets demolished. He looks around the roster and goes, these guys are old. They're not getting younger. I'm trapped here with contracts. Pow, I'm out of here.
Yeah, I mean, look, LeBron obviously is happy they beat Toronto. They swept them. But he's not sitting there thinking, wow, we're better than I thought. Maybe I'll stay. I mean, the goal wasn't to get to the Eastern Conference Finals. The goal's not to get to the finals. I guarantee you when he started this season, he thought, and this started these playoffs, we're going to reach the finals. You knew that we were going to reach the finals. It is how you do in the finals. And even if they win it, to your point, I don't think they're going to win it, but even if they pulled off a miracle, he still could look at the roster and say, we kind of did that with smoke and mirrors. We overachieved, but we can't do that going forward. Even if they won it, he could leave. I think if winning is the A1 factor in his decision, he almost has to leave. And I'm from Cleveland. I love him to stay, but I think he almost has to leave for a chance to beat Golden State and Houston, and even next year, Boston and Philly.
Why does he have to leave? Like,
you think he can win in Cleveland?
Yeah.
Championship?
Why, he has.
With Kyrie. With Kyrie.
Yeah, he's not there, but I don't like the hypotheticals and putting him to the Lakers and Houston and Philly. Like, it makes no sense to me whatsoever. Like, they got things in place right now. Like, the team that you're naming, they have something good going. I don't think that he's going to fit those situations, you know what I'm saying? Like, with the Lakers, like I've been stating, you stunt the growth of the guys you already have that you spent high draft picks on, you know, moving forward. Philadelphia, same thing. You stunt Ben Simmons' growth if he goes there. Takes the ball out of his hand. Houston, there's only one basketball. Each one of them guys dribbled it 400 times a game. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So there's only one.
But there's no growth in Cleveland, Kenyon.
Why not? Why not?
I think
why not? So is this Nets pick protected by anything?
No, they have that.
It's right now it's
so that could potentially be.
It's 6 or 7. Look, when they got the number 1 picks twice, it was like 9th and 8th or something. So if the lottery falls for them, they could get the number 1 pick.
So that helps, right? Bring him back.
20,
That's a
21
young boy,
but still, it's a young bull. Listen, these are some young bulls out there now.
Brandon Ingram's a young bull.
I wouldn't call you Brandon Ingram a young bull. He's a talented basketball player with tremendous upside. But you bring a Bagley and an Ayton in, a Miles Bridges in, somebody of that nature who you can look at toughness that can go out and play right now in this NBA the way it is. One of those guys with LeBron coming back and other people. I just can't see him leaving, man, whatsoever.
All right, to the West, where the Warriors opened up as favorites to beat the Rockets in the conference finals, which isn't entirely surprising given their championship pedigree and Houston's history of playoff tomfoolery. But Colin, the Rockets have made it very clear they're obsessed with beating the Warriors. Will their season be a disappointment if they don't win the series?
No, because they're not supposed to. They're facing a dynasty. And second, let's say they get clobbered. I think it makes it more attractive to LeBron to go there. LeBron wants to go somewhere.
The favorite topic, all right.
Just in one ear, out the other.
I dare you. LeBron wants to go somewhere that he's needed and he can beat Golden State. I mean, we all know Golden State's thrashing people for the last several years. It's not even competitive. And if they roll Houston, go to LA, I'm not winning titles. Go to Philadelphia, do I get past Boston? Chris Paul, me, LeBron, in LeBron's world view, he's like, me, Chris Paul, Harden, and Clint Capella, and that GM, we're going to win a title.
So how many wins did the Rockets have? 65, 66, something like that? Okay.
65.
If you lose in the conference, this is a disappointment. Who cares about the regular season? The Warriors won 73 games a couple years ago and lost in the finals. That was the greatest regular to the Cavs and LeBron, your buddy. So that whole regular season, beating Michael Jordan's win record with 70, that's irrelevant. Nobody talks about that. It doesn't matter at all. I think it's a complete failure if the Rockets don't get by the
I was going to say, look, first of all, there's a difference between disappointment and failure. Philadelphia is disappointed. Utah's disappointed. But it's not a failure because they will look back and say, we still had a great year. We're headed in the right direction.
Yeah, we got room to go.
If Toronto, that was a failure.
Definitely.
Because you're supposed to do better than get swept in the second round. So I do think, I'm with you, if Houston loses this series, it's a failure. Not a disappointment, it's a failure because these are not young guys headed in the right direction with plenty of years ahead of them. These are guys, if they lose this series, guess what the talk's going to be about? James Harden and Chris Paul. They don't get it done in the playoffs. We've seen it before. And Mike D'Antoni especially, it's going to be the same old thing. So next year, where do you go if you're Houston? If you don't get LeBron next year, where do you go?
Because they won't get
You have a great regular season. You win 68 games. Is anybody going to care? Are you even going to be excited? Because it's like, but in the playoffs, we've never gotten it done.
Yeah, no, like you said, they going up against a team that's like I said, they're a dynasty and they want to prove that they're a dynasty. And like Draymond stated the other day, they look at Houston as being in the way. Houston talented. James is a great basketball player. Chris is a great basketball player. But they have to play great each and every night in this series in order for them to have a shot at beating them.
A shot.
A shot. You know what I'm saying? They have to play great because the other guys not put in positions to be successful. So they don't know what it is to have to put the ball on the floor to go make a play.
I mean,
So just one of them guys struggle, then somebody else got to step up. But Golden State does that all the time.
When the
and average 30
GM,
assists.
Kenyon, when the GM comes out in December and says we're obsessed with the Warriors, you better deliver in May when it matters. I mean, look, this quote is from December. That's all they're thinking about. They don't care about the Timberwolves or the Jazz. This stuff's nice.
I mean, but
it's Warriors or bust.
I mean, do you look at the Utah Jazz, who were great for 18 years with Malone and Stockton and Jerry Sloan? Was it a failure? I don't know. I don't know the right answer. I mean,
They weren't expected. I mean, they went up against Michael Jordan.
I think we look back at them and go,
it was a
they
good
weren't
run.
going up. It's like Phil Mickelson. Okay, Phil Mickelson didn't win. He was going up against Tiger. Like, I kind of look at the Utah Jazz and I'm like, that was a hell of a run. That was,
Chris
and
Paul
they give
went
Michael
there to
Jordan
win a
2
championship.
great finals.
Chris Paul went there to win a championship. Harden is the MVP.
Sacrifice money. Welcome back. Time for last call. Let's move to my beloved Jets. Yes, they got the steal of the draft with Sam Darnold falling into their lap at number 3. Now the Jets CEO says Darnold will turn around the fortunes of the entire franchise. Colin, is Darnold the next Joe Namath or Mark Sanchez?
He's closer to Chad Pennington.
Oh, stop
He
it.
actually really smart, no controversy, he's the kind of guy that in a huddle is a coach on the field. He's Phil Simms, he's Eli Manning. He'll never get in trouble with the press. He's got a little Derek Jeter. He's not Mark Sanchez. He's not going to be on GQ. It's not who he's dating. He's not Joe Namath. He's not staying up late. He really has he's a really talented Phil Simms or a really more talented Eli Manning or Chad Pennington. He's really that kind of personality.
Contending in the AFC in 3 years, Colin.
Oh, absolutely.
Take that to the bank.
Yeah.
To Jason Tatum, who just had an old tweet from 2012 resurface where he asked LeBron to follow him and posted a picture of grown man LeBron towering over the 14-year-old Tatum. Colin, is this proof LeBron is going to dominate the young Celtics?
No, it's proof that kids grow. Because Tatum now, I think, is actually taller than LeBron James.
Yes, he is.
He is.
Well said.
It'll be a good series. I mean, listen, Brad Stevens is going to win a game by himself in that series.
I think he's going to win 2 or 3. I love the Celtics' chances, Cowherd.
We're off tomorrow. See you Monday.